In 2012, Dr. Arthi said in her journal titled Robotics and Automation Nanorobots Design an Application that there may come a day in the near future where a man can find that he has cancer cells in his body in the beginning stages, and in that very same day have those cancer cells treated and completely destroyed to be home in his own bed that very same evening. Something as amazing as this can be brought on by the technology of medical nanorobots. Medical nanorobots will completely change the way that we approach things medically. In the very near future, medical nanorobots can be responsible for saving you or your children's lives. Today, we will discuss the widely researched concept of nanorobots and how real they are becoming. First, we will discuss the prototype of the nanorobot, how it's designed along with how it functions. Second, we will discuss the way that nanorobots communicate both with each other and with the physician. And third and finally, we will discuss a few of the vast applications that nanorobots will have in the medical field. To begin, let us discuss the prototype of the nanorobot and how it's designed along with how it functions. Dr. Arthi, as mentioned before, also described in her journal both the internal and external structure of the nanorobot. We will first begin by covering the internal structure. Although the internal structure is very, very complex, we will only touch on two of the most important aspects of the internal structure of the nanorobot, the first being motes. Motes are super intelligent microsensors that are capable of forming their own network within each other. Each mote contains a microprocessor, a sensor, and an ultra-low power radio. Motes are responsible for making sure that each of the nanorobots has equal capabilities concerning mobility, communication, and equal transmission of data. So what the motes do for the nanorobot is they use their sensors to sense changes in their environments, hence letting us be able to diagnose ailments in the human body or wherever they're searching for a problem. Another very important aspect of the internal structure of the nanorobot is called TinyOS, which is exactly what it sounds like, a tiny operating system. TinyOS is completely in charge of the motes and governs everything concerning the motes, from conserving power to making sure that each of the nanorobots has an equal amount of data at all times. So if a physician wanted to completely reprogram the network that the motes have created, all the physician would have to do is send one single signal to an individual nanorobot, and then TinyOS would recognize that there's a small change in one of the robots and immediately send the same change to each of the robots, making sure that each of the robots is currently on the same task and has the same knowledge. So now that we've discussed the internal structure, let's move on to the external structure. The external structure has been beautifully designed and well thought out. The most important thing that went to mind when designing the external structure was making sure that the nanorobots will be encased in a shell that is chemically inert and will not disrupt the immune system in any way. And they found that if they completely smoothed out diamond and made a shell out of diamond, that it was non-disruptive and non-irritable to the immune system at all. So each nanorobot will be encased in a diamond shell. And even though it is encased in a diamond shell, which is a very dense material, scientists have found a way to create pores in the shell so that the scientists can open and close these pores to release agents into the infected areas, such as antibodies, drugs, etc. So now that we've discussed the prototype of the nanorobot, we can now move on to how the nanorobots communicate with each other and with their physicians. In 2012, Dr. Al Hudhud said in his journal titled On Swarming Medical Nanorobots that there are two different ways that nanorobots communicate with each other and with their physicians. One is called signal detection, and one is called communication-based communication. So each of these forms of communication are used in communicating with each other and with their physicians. So first I will discuss how those communications work between nanorobots. In signal detection, the nanorobots are assigned a certain chemical or a certain cell to find. So they have a very targeted mission that cannot be changed, only canceled. So the nanorobots search for that specific cell, and when it is found, they alert the other nanorobots, and they all swarm together to treat the change or the chemical or the cell. So the communication that's used in signal detection is the fact that they all swarm together. In communication-based communication, it's more of a search-based mission. So they don't really know exactly what they're looking for, but they're looking for a change in environment. So all the nanorobots swarm to they swarm everywhere, searching completely the entire area. And when an abnormal change is found, they alert the others, and they all swarm together. So in both forms of communication, the way that they communicate with each other is mainly by swarming. Now with the physicians, it's completely different. In signal detection, it is very non-interactive with the physician. Since there is such a set mission, the physician cannot change it, only cancel it. So his only job in this communication is to read the data that is sent to him. In communication-based communication, however, the nanorobots completely rely on the physician's commands and orders. So without the physician, they would be lost and wouldn't really know what they're looking for. But the physician also reads the data that's sent to him in that situation as well. So now that we've discussed the way the nanorobots communicate with each other and with their physicians, we can now move on to some of the vast applications that nanorobots will have in the medical field. In 2006, Dr. Heather Beam said in her article titled Nanorobotics that there are vast amounts of applications that nanorobots will be used for in the medical field. Since there are so many, I will only be able to touch on a few today. One of the applications is treatment of illness. And the way that the nanorobots will help in the treatment of illness is being able to directly apply medicines, essentially, to affected areas, such as antibiotics, and they're actually aiming for chemotherapy, to be able to directly apply chemotherapy to cancerous cells. Another way that nanorobots will be used in the medical field is for tissue replacement. So, essentially, we'll be able to treat trauma like never before, because we'll be able to fix organs or expedite the healing of organs. So if a man sustains a gunshot wound to his abdomen, they'll be able to build a wall to prevent him from bleeding out, which will completely change the way that we approach trauma entirely. Dr. Beam also described a specific type of nanorobot that is going to be completely groundbreaking, and it's called a chromalocyte. What chromalocytes do is they are able to access DNA and take damaged DNA and replace it with a synthetic copy of healthy DNA. So essentially, with chromalocytes, we will be able to cure genetic diseases, and we haven't really ever been able to do that before. So, now that we've finished talking about some of the vast applications that nanorobots will have in the medical field, we can reflect on what has been said today. First, we discussed the prototype of the nanorobot, how it's designed along with how it functions. Second, we discussed the way that nanorobots communicate both with each other and with their physicians. And third and finally, we discussed a few of the vast applications that nanorobots will have in the medical field. According to CDC.gov, last accessed on November 4th, 2013, there are 12.7 million people that are diagnosed with cancer each year, and about 7.6 million of those people die from the disease. With the technology of nanorobots, we will hopefully be able to cut the number of fatalities caused by cancer by a very large amount. Nanorobots are the future. They will become a reality, and when they do, we will be able to fight against disease and trauma like never before.